Hey everybody, welcome to the MWLN stream for 228 versus Imperial. It's RHoD week 6, right, Mag?
This is actually round 3.
Round 3. Okay.
Yeah, season 6.
Season 6, okay, that's where I got it mixed up. And we're still going to be sort of constructing this overlay here because we got a new overlay, so sorry about that. And another unfortunate turn of events is that Mag no longer has spectator access. We are trying to get that remedied, but no promises. So, yeah, welcome. Just in contact with Heim here, waiting for them to get ready and drop, so hopefully we'll be in shortly. Mag, what's the first drop?
So the first drop is going to be on Forest Colony Snow, and it's going to be 1 light, 1 medium, 3 heavies, and 3 assaults.
So pretty heavy drop right off the bat. Is that the heaviest one?
It might be the heaviest one for today. The thing is, because some of these drops are going to be class-based like that one, and some of them are tonnage-based, it's a little bit difficult for me to say. But I think just from the matches we played, yeah, that should be the heaviest drop of the night.
I am working on getting a little map up here so we can talk about what you think is going to happen, but that's going to take a couple more minutes, so sorry for the delay, folks.
Sure, so I'll just go over some of the possibilities. The light mech could be anywhere from a fire starter to a Raven 3L, a Raven 2X, depending on probably go with the 2X over the 3L unless you wanted a little bit of extra ECM. The medium could be probably a Stormcrow or a Wolverine. The heavies, a lot of teams, I think, are running 2 Timberwolves and 1 Hellbringer. The Hellbringer mostly to provide that ECM for the group. And then the assaults would be most likely just Direwolves, but you could see Stalkers too. The Stalkers poke over hills a little bit better than the Direwolves do, but the Direwolves definitely can lay down more instant damage. And then for the Timberwolves, there's so many builds that teams can run, which is one of the things that we'll try to look out for and see what they're actually taking. You can go from ER large if you wanted to sit really deep. You could go with large pulse, medium lasers Gauss, large pulse Gauss. There's some other funky builds that you could also take with it, but those would be the main ones. You might see a PVC Gauss, medium lasers if somebody really feels comfortable in that one, but that one's probably the less likely than, say, the large pulse mediums or the mediums Gauss. Direwolves are another mech where you can see different kinds of builds showing up. We could have Ultra AC5s, large pulse, medium lasers Gauss, ER large, medium Gauss, and PPC Gauss. And there's one of the other assaults that you might possibly see would be a King Crab if some player really likes it. And that would mostly be that could be AC5s. It could also be PPC Gauss, large lasers Gauss. There's various options there. As for the Stalker, that would probably just be the 4N with 4 to 6 large lasers. One thing to keep in mind for tonight for RHoD, this is a modified conquest mode where it's only the middle cap that can actually be captured by the team, and then the team who's either ahead of points at the end of the match will win, or the team who has destroyed all their enemy mechs. So that does come into play in the strategies because you have to be able to contest the capture point if the other team tries to draw out the match. You want to be able to move in and actually get the captures going, or else you'll just be way down on points, and then you might have to push in on them in a nice defensive position near the end of the match. So we'll see if the teams try to. That's one reason you might take a fire starter. So if you see a fire starter, they might be trying to go for an early cap and then set up a nice defensive position.
I know that Imperials, or at least from what I've seen, is pretty aggressive in terms of how they play. What about 228? What's your experience with them?
So 228, I'd say both back and forth between aggression and nice defensive maneuvers. In the past, they sometimes they'd be really aggressive, but when we were playing them recently, they were taking up some nice positions, and just their movement and coordination was what I think is one of their strongest parts of that team. So I think that you'll see a lot of movement from that team. But I would be surprised too if they just sit there, they take up a nice position that they feel comfortable in and try to hold it. Especially if they think EMP is going to be very aggressive. They might just take up a good defensive posture.
Let's see, first map looks like Forest Colony Snow. I should probably look which team has got which side here. Do you know offhand?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Do you know which team is on which side on Forest Colony?
No, so it'll be the home team gets to choose for drops 1, 3, 5. And tonight the home team is 228th. So I don't know which one they're going to choose. Maybe we can get that information before they actually go in. Have they launched? They haven't launched yet?
They have not launched. I will ask Heim if he's got which team's which.
Okay.
Gonna go ahead and pull up Smurfy's here and download these maps. Thank you again to Smurfy from players everywhere. Because what the hell would we do without Smurfy?
Yeah, I pretty much always have that up on the screen during matches, so I can quickly flip the maps and figure out where we're gonna drop zones, or just to make sure that I have the actual drop zones in order for Alpha Beta Charlie.
Time thinks 228th is probably going to be Team 1, but they are running a little bit late right now, so everybody just sit tight. Guess that gives me more time to figure this out.
I think drop 1 is pretty likely if you get a choice. It has a little bit better direct access to the water, a little bit quicker to get your assaults down there if that's the way you want to go.
Are you a fan of water more or inland more?
Well, in our last match against Seraphim, we went in the water. One of the reasons to do that is just because the land it's pretty bumpy, and if you're taking dire wolves, they don't necessarily poke over hills very well because they're so slow. If you go over a hill, you're usually fairly committed in the fight, and maybe doing that blind fight against a team who's just sitting there in the water can be a bit dangerous. Most of our matches we've had against the EmP, they have pushed through the water. Sometimes they'll sit a few mechs back, but while others push up. Yeah, I think water's pretty strong. What do you think?
Honestly, I've always liked water more. Whenever I can get pugs to follow me, I will always go in the water, especially when you're on the non-rocky side, like the non-mountainous side. I just hate that kill box that everybody wanders into by the tunnel entrance. I just really hate that position, and it's where everybody goes because NASCAR, and anytime I can get out of that, I will.
Yeah, I don't think it's good to go on either side of that, especially in this mode. It's a little bit too set back. You don't have very good visibility. There are no strikes in RHoD this season, so it's not like just because you're clumped up that you can get struck. But I feel like you'd pretty much only have a few places you can move after that, and the other team could easily set up a spot that just prevents you from moving without getting annihilated.
Yeah, the inland side has got a few of those spots. That sort of rock at the middle also has that effect, at least on Forest Colony Snow, when the path up to the mining city is blocked. I see a lot of teams sort of push all the way up to there, and then they're just trapped and screwed, and they get hit from all sides. Of course, that's mostly pugs. I don't think I've ever seen a competitive team try to hold up there.
Yeah, I think I have seen teams do waterfall area, poking from that area fairly often, actually. But maybe one team will try that, just playing a really defensive spot if they don't want to go into the water. That's probably the next best spot to go. Because at least then you can overlook the theta cap.
Do you think we'll see any quick cap sort of maneuvers by 228th to like gain an advantage and then set up a defensive position? I sort of feel like Imperial will probably just not care about caps for the most part.
Well, I think it's an option. The only problem with theta, though, is it's pretty exposed. So if a team is team 2 and they're coming down towards the water through C3, they'll have really good shots on theta. They might be able to pick off a light, and we only have one light here. That can make it pretty difficult. And that would only really play in, I think, if, say, EmP went, or sorry, 228 went team 1 and they wanted to play really defensively. They might try to control the point then to make EmP have to push in a bad spot. But I think for starters that they'll probably leave theta alone and just go for a general scout and try not to get picked up by any Gauss. Because with those assaults, those direct wolves, you know, the good shots with the large pulse Gauss combined, that can kill a light pretty quick, or at least leg it. So you have to be really careful.
Absolutely.
And if teams go, especially if they go to 2x, right? If they go 2x, they're going to want to sit back with that mech.
Definitely. Being in a light, you've really got to be careful because I forget what match it was on Alpine that I was actually casting that the light just got caught out in the open and legged, and it forced their team to push, and that's just not the situation you want to be in. You know, light pilots have got to be really careful. All it takes is one shot, and these players all know how to aim. And for anyone wondering why Mag does not have a face, it is because I am really scared about adding any more video capture things because my computer has already hard crashed twice. And I really don't want that to happen in the middle of the stream. So we're going to leave that to another day. I will go find a great picture or something of a magician and put it up there. And in the meantime, I might as well plug all of the things. It appears that they're finally in lobby. They're almost ready. Everybody, I assume watching the stream has been to Smurfy's. If you haven't, how the hell are you even playing this game? Go there, edit your mechs, download the maps, get all sorts of stuff. Smurfy's, best reference ever. MetaMechs, if you don't know what you're doing, if you want competitive builds, if you just want some ideas for, you know, how to make a good build, MetaMechs is a great resource. Even if you don't like some of the builds there, they're great starting points. I highly recommend it. Very knowledgeable. That's one of Mag's teammates, G-Man, that runs that site. And I will also plug the Major League Mech Warrior tournament that is coming up. Registration deadline is April 6th. There's like almost $4,000 in prizes. We've added a bunch of low-level prizes where you can, you know, not have to win and do particularly well. We got a Best Paint Job award, all sorts of stuff. You know, if you're new to the competitive scene, you're really not sure about it, try it. This is one of the funnest things in the game. High-level play is great, and even when you just get your ass kicked, I think it's a great learning experience. It makes you better as a player, and frankly, it's pretty fun. I'm going to link the website in chat there, or I'm not because Twitch doesn't want to log me in. Maybe. I don't know. But you should totally check it out. Register a team. If you're a solo player looking for a team, the website has a page to find a team or find extra players for your team if you're just missing a couple. So check it out, all that good stuff. And we are now waiting on one from 228th. So gonna get ready.
So let's start some of the hype. This is the first time that 228 has played EmP. 228 did face Lords for one drop back in the PGI tournament over a year ago. So this is going to be, I think this is a really good match. This should be a really good match. You got what I consider two of the top 3 teams in MWO right now facing off against each other. And yeah, I think because we haven't seen them play against each other, this match just has a lot of excitement around it.
It looks like they've launched in a match. I'm going to actually put the stuff on screen now so everybody can see it. No MS Paint overlay this time.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here and do nothing.
Yeah, that's... Wish I had you on this one, but you know what? Let's give it a shot.
You know, maybe I could drop in their thing and just suicide. I don't know if they allow it.
You know, that's actually not a terrible plan. Alright, looks like the match is getting off to a start on EmP side, of course. 3 dire wolves. For the light, we've got a Raven 2X. We'll check on the build on that. And then we've got 2 Timberwolves, 3 Timberwolves, and they're shooting each other. It must be a misdrop. There is nothing good about this. Yep, everybody's killing each other. Let's see who wins. It looks like 228th is ahead on team kills right now. And, yeah, oh, it's the wrong map. That's why we're redropping. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well. Okay. And I remember to get in first person this time so I can actually exit this match without my client crashing. What do you know? Learning every day. Alright, well, I guess in the meantime, I'll try to get this paint capture working. I know that scares some of you, but I'm really going to try hard this time.
So Lucas is asking if a mulligan seeing the other team's drop deck gives a team an advantage. Well, one thing is with RHoD, you can change up that drop deck if you want to. It can give you an advantage, definitely. If you saw something there, now you can plan a little bit ahead of it. For example, if you saw that they went Stalkers instead of Direwolves, you might change what your initial movement was going to be. Sometimes there's been redrops 30 seconds in. You saw what way that team was going at the start, and now maybe that next drop you might adjust. Maybe you were going a bad way, but it was they needed the restart, so you know it's not like you're trying to cheat or anything like that. Sometimes people do just get disconnected or the settings are wrong. But yeah, definitely give teams advantage. The only thing is both teams can see each other, so I don't think it gives either team a significant advantage. And for fair play reasons, people usually don't try to go out and scout each other's mechs to get configs. You try to just hold back and die.
Well, that's probably not good. I don't know what I did to the overlay, but it's going to be okay, kids. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, good. Good. It's fixed. It's not on fire anymore, and we have apparently redropped into game. Going there right now. Gonna double check that I don't have any weird overlays up. Sure enough, we're doing it right. Bam, 2 for 2. Alright, so yeah, same drop deck I believe from Imperial. 3 Timberwolves, 3 Direwolves, a Raven, and a Stormcrow. Yes, it looks like they're going water. Imperial is. On 228th, we've got 3 Timberwolves, a Raven 2X, 3 Direwolves, and a Wolverine. So a Wolverine and a Stormcrow are the only difference between these two. We're going to go ahead and jump into green right now because he's in that Wolverine. He's sort of up front poking. So let's see what he's doing. 228th is just sort of sitting back by Sigma right now, not doing a whole lot. They're just sort of holed up in their defensive position. They're not making a move towards water. They're not really doing too much of anything. One Direwolf is making its way out to the rock, though, so they might start pushing out there soon. Imperial, on the other side, has set up at boat. They're just sort of chilling out, getting ready to make trades. It appears they're going to just be content for now to make trades at the boat. 228th has got a Timberwolf and a Raven 2X positioned on the big hill. Right now, they're pretty split. If Imperial pushes, I would be interested to see how this plays out. We're going to go ahead and jump back in on green since he will be the brunt of any attack. And it looks like Imperial is moving in. Looks like they're moving around the right side of the boat. Yep, Timberwolves are coming in force. This Direwolf and this Wolverine are pretty alone out here. This is not a good place to be. Popped up a UAV. Let's watch this retreat. Juicebox and the Direwolf is probably, yep, he is caught out in the water, and I believe he is going to go down. I don't think he has a good way to get back. 68%, and he is down. So it looks like Imperial's got the first kill. They have taken some damage. Let's look at those numbers. JP and a Stormcrow damaged all over, 72%. Heim, a little bit opened up, but okay in his Timberwolf at 69%. Imperial's push is mostly stalled around Kappa. They're just making trades at this point. I don't know that they want to push in considering they're up a man.
So just being up a person does not actually give you, I mean, it's an advantage in numbers, but otherwise it's not a huge issue because you can't win just by being up on kills.
Imperials, half of them are pushing in on shoreline right now. Looks like they're direwolves. All three of them are pushing shoreline. Proton gets defunct down. That's 2 for Imperial. Looks like Twinkie and Selith both heavily damaged in their direwolves. Selith is just half a direwolf. He's opened up. Twinkie, both sides cored, but he's still putting out full damage, and he is backed off, so they can't really get to him. This definitely looks like it's going Imperial's way. Only 4 left for 228th. And they are actually pretty spread out still. Twinkie takes down another 228th. And at this point, I believe it's just mop up. It's just Edmeister and Pisces Zero and their Timberwolves. Edmeister is about to go down. Sure enough. So this first game goes Imperial. Pretty handily. I feel like being split in the water really did not help 228th here, unfortunately. I feel like they tried to set up in Overwatch, but ultimately it ended up hurting them, having those 2 guys stranded out in the water. Okay, my client just did something weird, but it's okay now. So, we're going to try to get a map up and draw a little bit what happened so Mag can comment after actually seeing what the hell happened. Oh, you can watch the stream though, so that's
yeah, I'll be able to watch the stream here in a few minutes.
That's pretty great. So let's see. Let me try to get this up without. Okay, that's definitely. Okay. Okay, I think we got it. Now we're going to take this thing off. Yes, and then paint. Yeah, I know this is going to be ugly, but you know what? That's just how it's going to be. Sorry, kids. So, it was a pretty straightforward match. Caps didn't really come into account at all. It was pretty much just a straight up slow water push from Imperial. He just spread out, went to boat, sort of made a firing line all across the Delta 4 to Echo 3 area. In the meantime, 228th sort of had mechs just all over the place. They had a Direwolf and a Griffin sort of up here by the D3 hill, and I think that's ultimately where it all went wrong. And then they just had some guys scattered in here. They had 2 on top of the big hill as well up here. Should probably use better colors for this, maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit better. But basically, Direwolf got caught out in the water once Imperial pushed around boat. They sort of held D3. Their Direwolves moved up the shoreline slowly and pushed in. Everybody applied pressure at the right times, and 228 just sort of got picked off. There wasn't anything they could really do. I think once that initial positioning error was made. Mag, thoughts on a split defense versus the death ball?
Well, the split defense can leave you open to, as you were talking about, a push on any one side. But also if you're poking, say, from one side and the other side isn't really engaged at their range, That means the other team, if they're just standing there, can just all focus in on whatever target is poking. And I'm seeing that happen a bit here around Kappa. That Juice Box and that Direwolf is the only mech who's actually engaging at this time, and it becomes a really easy target there for EmP. It's like all these other mechs are still back in the drop setup, and I think that might have been the mistake for 228. They, in general, EmP had all their mechs out there in the water along the boat, able to fire, and basically 228 was just poking one at a time, and that's that play does kind of work. But I think of these heavier tonnages, especially with the Direwolves who don't work well with the poke, that the EmP just had a better position and was able to trade back more effectively.
I think it also hurts on a split defense that you can't really cycle mechs out, because if you look at Imperial, I mean, towards the end, almost every one of their players was 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s. Everybody had taken a bunch of damage, and if you look at 228th, everybody sort of took damage in order, Nobody was, cycling out to take blows. I saw Twinkie, for instance, towards the end of the match. 47%, both side torsos on that Direwolf open, but he's dealing full damage because nobody bothered to take him out. And, that's crucial. It's getting those mechs down that count, not just getting them damaged, so...
And 228, I mean, they put out a lot of damage, though. A lot of these mechs were very hurt for EmP, but in the end, I think their ability to... They got the first kill down, they got the first Direwolf down, and that's a lot of your tonnage going away. And they also went up 4-0 to start the match. So while they were damaged, 228 mechs were just way too damaged to be able to come back from that. Even in their push with EmP, they pushed up, but they were really in a nice little death ball. It's a little overused term, I think, the death ball, because they weren't just quite in a ball, but they were generally together, and they were able. There was one mech that came around the side, and they just lit that mech up pretty easily. So, and that took it down. And yeah, I think that's really a difference in this match, is that whereas I think 228 usually does a really good job of focus fire and ability to all engage it at the same time. In this match, they weren't able to do that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at damage scores right now because I forgot to leave those up. Sorry, people. I will attempt to do that next time. Keep forgetting to take screenshots and whatnot, but if you look at the damage spread, it's really not that much different. I just think it's where the damage went and who it was applied to in what order. I think that Direwolf stranded out there really hurt, so hopefully they can come back after that. Our next match is going to be...
Well, it'll be River City Knight at 450 tons.
All right, River City Knight, 450 tons. So that's what, like 55 tons average?
Yeah, just about. Or maybe exactly. You could see something like that, honestly. You could see an 8 Stormcrow type setup, but I think with some teams, you kind of want to bring those Hellbringers for a little bit of ECM, perhaps, which means you'll drop something down to lights. But also the FS9S, I mean, that's a really strong mech, and it can do as much damage as anything else in this game. It depends how scared you are of streaks, though. If you're scared of streaks, you might not take as many lights. But if you're not worried about the streaks, which you might not be in River City Knight this tonnage, you might feel a little more comfortable bringing in several more lights, and maybe even upping some of those to, say, Timberwolves as well. And we know EmP loves the Timberwolf. They love taking that 5 medium laser Gauss Timberwolf, and they're really effective at that.
I was going to say, that is one thing that I almost find surprising sometimes, is how much EmP doesn't care about the Hellbringer, from what I've seen. It's just like, we would rather have Timberwolves, and we'll sacrifice a little extra for it. We don't care about ECM. I see a lot of teams, running one ECM even just for target distraction, because it's a little bit harder to focus targets and whatnot, but EmP doesn't care, doesn't see the advantage in it, and they would rather have the Timberwolf. And, I can't disagree that I think it's a better combat mech. So, still waiting for word from Heimdallite, nothing yet, so we're going to go ahead and bring up this next map here. Man, I am super bad at paint.
So one of the advantages on this map is if you go with Team 2, you start off on the upper platform there in the northeast corner, and that can actually overlook Kappa, and the Kappa is the point that can be capped. So if the other team tries to put a few lights in on Kappa, while it can try to hide behind the mining drill, those other mechs might be able to do a pretty good amount of damage from it, but they also just have that visibility. And if they can hold that position, it can work really well. But at the same time, I think that upper base can be assaulted fairly well. I know it's happened to us, and we've done it to other teams. There's a lot of ways that you can assault it, and people sometimes backpedal too much on there.
It's like EMP is at upper base. We've just launched into match. EMP does have a Hellbringer this time. 2 Timberwolves, a Hellbringer, 3 Stormcrows, 2 Fire Starters, and for 228th, we've got 3 Stormcrows, a 2 Timberwolves, a Hellbringer, and 2 Fire Starters. Exact same decks. Maybe even down to the variants. That's impressive. It looks like 228th right now is sort of headed towards Upper City, but they haven't gone up the ramp. So they're just sort of sitting there. EMP seems to like their position at upper base. They're sniping down. Adi and Aurora in their fire starters taking the middle point now. Let's try to get on this action if I can. Oh, this interface is painful sometimes. Yep, so it looks like EMP has taken Kappa. They're going to force 228th to make the move. I'm going to go ahead and cycle around here, see what these builds are looking like. Nothing too surprising so far. We're just seeing a lot of laser Gauss vomit on both sides. I see Pisces 0 from 228th with packing some SRM6s and Small Pulse in his Stormcrow. Looks like they're going to want to brawl a little bit. 228th is pushing out into the water, towards Delta 4. They're pushing basically towards the other side of the Citadel. They're going to try to get a foothold in that part of town before they make a move on Imperial. I think that's probably a good move, because getting shot up in that river is just not a good plan. Adi and Aurora harassing their tail as they go out. Pisces 0 sort of stranded in back with this SRM crew. I don't know if he's disconnected or what happened there. Time to Light is sort of the only one down in front of the base. The rest of EMP has turned to face 228th Citadel push. 228th isn't doing much. They're just sort of sitting behind the Citadel right now, taking their time, chasing off the lights. And did Panic Button make it out? Yes, he did. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if he was AFK for a second there or what. Doesn't matter now. It looks like 228th is pushing in. We're going to go to El Ducarino and his fire starter and see what's happening. Maybe. I can click it. See UAVs going up. Imperial's got one. Imperial seems to be pushing left towards Kappa. They're not waiting this out up top at all. Half of their mechs have just dropped down in the water almost right onto Kappa. They're sort of having a trading war right here. Peter 2000 already really torn up in that Stormcrow with his with some streaks. Open CT. Left side is almost gone. He's going to go down really quick here. And Aurora kills Pisces 0. One down for 228th, I believe. Adi goes down. It's 1-1. 228th is not looking good on health percentages, though. As mentioned, Peter's not looking good. He's down to 39%. Panic Button down to 30%. He's about to go down into Timberwolf. 3 dead for 228th now. Panic Button almost down as well. Yeah, this looks like... Oh, Heimdallite goes down and Aurora goes down. Looks like there are a couple of EMP mechs that have been hanging back from this fight mostly, just putting damage on 228th. One of 228th, Valkyrie 707, caught out in the water. He's about to go down. That's just going to leave 2 left for 228th. I believe the fire starters. Please give me the thing. No. 3 left. Edmeister and a very wounded Timberwolf is also still alive. And then, of course, the 2 fire starters. I don't know that we can get into Edmeister, and I don't know why.
Sometimes you just can't click in on people.
He might actually be dead, and it might just be registering it wrong. I feel like these fire starters are actually the only two left. We're gonna pan out and take a look. Sure enough, that's what I'm seeing. I think spectator mode is just a little bugged, and right now it is just cleanup. El Ducarino and Juicebox are cornered. They got two Storm Crows and a Timberwolf chasing them down. I don't see any way out here. And that is it. Well, let's take a look at these scores. I'm going to try to screenshot this. I'm sorry if it was confusing and you didn't know what was going on during that match, because to be perfectly honest, a lot of the time, neither did I. Just looking at the damage spread, EmP far outplayed 228th on this match. I definitely think they got the better trades. They got the better trades coming in. They forced 228th to make the move, and it definitely shows here. Seleth with 526, Imminent with 405, Proton 391. Top damage on 228 side was 300 from a fire starter. So, you know, Pisces 0 shut down his Stormcrow, only 80 damage. Yeah, it was just a better trade for EmP, despite the fact that they lost 4 mechs there. I may or may not have screenshotted that, but whatever. Let's try to draw this.
So as you mentioned, EmP did decide to go for the base this time. So I think that did help set up the rest of the match. One thing I'm noticing is so 228th pushed up. They didn't go quite into park, but they were trying to trade from the lower buildings while the EmP was sitting up top. That is a very difficult position to trade from. It's not necessarily a bad position. It's not necessarily a position that you're losing on. But it's not, I don't think it's a very optimal position. It's not one that you probably are going to find much of an advantage in. So they did decide to leave that and get behind Citadel, which is probably a good move because they weren't really going to get much work done there, and they didn't seem like they were actually going to be able to take the base back just sitting there. Unfortunately, they had Pisces 0 who disconnected while they made that move.
Yeah, that would explain some things. It definitely looked like that movement wasn't quite coordinated there. At least it didn't cost them a mech, because boy, those fire starters were right there, nipping at their heels. But I definitely think that didn't work out great for them. I've drawn it on the map here. I should probably put paint up. Nailed it. Okay, should probably update the score, maybe. And people typing in Twitch chat, I'm sorry, I am far too distracted to read what you're saying, so I'm sure you're giving me all sorts of helpful tips like that, but yeah. All right. So it's 2-0 right now for Imperial. So yeah, 228th moved up into the city, ended up not liking their position, and honestly, I feel like through the first 2 minutes of this match, all the time that 228th was in this whole area, they were getting out traded. I think EmP was just doing more chip damage there, and that's also when, you know, they basically got the cap point Kappa uncontested, which forces 228th to make that move. I think they make the right one to wrap around Citadel, because going through the water is just suicide when they've got the base like that. But sorry about that, just making sure that they haven't launched again. Imperial just camped the top of the base, made smart trades, and I think that was really all they had to do.
Yeah, so, well, 228th went more of a brawl deck, whereas EmP just took the range, and even when 228th was pushing towards them, they were able to sit up top and in the water, a nice spread out position, and shut that down. But I think that the brawl did make a little bit of a difference there, because it did allow 228th to get a few kills.
Definitely, I think that once they got in to knife fight range, you know, they did take down those 4 mechs. I mean, there was no question that they were doing some damage there. But, you know, at the end, you saw those 3 or 4 EmP mechs just spread all over the place for the last 228th guys, you know, putting fire on them from all directions. It's really hard when they got that, you know, they're sort of kiting you with multiple mechs, just really hard. I guess is really about all there is to say on this one. I think EmP just had the better position and held it well. So, alright, it looks like they're getting into the lobby for the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the next map, which is Caustic.
Yeah, Caustic Valley, 400 tons.
Alright, how do you think that one's going to play out?
I think that what I'm interested to see if the one team tries to go for a range strat and the other team tries to go for SRMs, maybe a mixed street type strat. It's a hot map, but you got the Caldera, right? The Caldera is where the base is at. So if you can't contest Caldera, you might have some problems. You can shoot into Caldera from, say, D5 Hill or Sniper Hill. I think it's like in Foxtrot 3. So there are ways to shoot into it, do some damage maybe before you approach it. But it can be, I think it's a difficult choice to make if you're going to go with the range deck, because you know then that maybe you can't really contest the cap point early on, and the other team can just keep sitting there trying to rotate, not getting picked off from the range, and then might force you to get close to them with that high heat range mechs.
Yeah, ranged on the mode that you've set up here, where it's, you've got that cap point, it's definitely a gamble, because a brawl deck can basically just wait to ambush that point if they take it first. And even if they don't take it first, if the range deck takes it first, they've got to get it and get the hell out of there. So, I don't know. I'm sort of thinking we're going to see a pretty scrappy deck, sort of like that all-in, mostly streaks Caldera Brawl that I saw the other day. What match was that? Was that SJR versus...
Yeah, so we took an all streak or a 6 streak Crows and a Raven 3L and a Raven 2X against Seraphim, and they had more SRM small pulse, I think LBX 20 style Crows, and they actually pushed through the Caldera at us, and it was interesting because the streaks like lit up 2 mechs right away, like they had like 20 damage. That's all they're able to do, but in the long term, they were able to end up applying that more direct damage on the legs, a little more efficiency, obviously, with compared to streaks, and they took that drop. It was just 2 mechs fighting off against each other at the very end. A Raven 2X, I think. The Raven 3L against.
No, it was a Raven 2X. I think it was a 2X versus that Wolverine. That was a great match. For anybody that has not watched that, you should go to mwoln.com and watch that. At least that match. That was really tense.
But I think that match kind of shows that people are saying, streaks are OP. And yeah, compared to lights, they are. But I think, we made some mistakes there. There's no doubt about that. But I think it does show that some direct damage can end up countering those streaks if you do it right.
Absolutely. Especially when you've got terrain, sort of like the Caldera. There's quite a few things for streaks to get hung up on if if that's what you're trying to do. So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of decks these teams bring this time.
One thing I want to comment about that last match, one of the problems that the team does have, Lord DZ, against the upper, is even if they want to push on there, they have to be really careful about not capping Gamma. There's quite a bit of time there that they'd have to decap and then try to cap it back up. So I don't think it'd play in very much. It shouldn't play in at all if people are aware of it. But it kind of restricts some of your movement when you're up there, unfortunately. I'm hoping PGI at some point will give us a King of the Hill style game mode. It'd be really welcome.
I have been waiting for King of the Hill since the beginning of this game. There's just so many great parts of the map that you never see. I mean, look at B4, B5 on this map. I like that area. I wish there was something to do out there. I wish there was, back in the day, remember when, maybe 20-30% of the time you'd see like a 2-line rush on this map? Haven't seen that in ages. That's like as non-existent as the tunnel rush on Frozen City these days. I would definitely like to see them make use of, good places on these maps.
Yeah, when you had the ability to trip up mechs and you had the non-turret defend the bases and quicker the bases that were quicker to actually take down. I think the base tactics was very interesting because sometimes we would play and we would try to trip somebody up, get the streaks on them, kill them, and then you would have this light advantage, and then they'd either have to sit there in a bad spot trying to defend their base, and you'd be able to approach it and pretty much usually you take them out. Or if they try to play aggressive, you'd be able to slip your lights in and go cap, and they couldn't defend it. Having that mission does help, which is why Merrick Civil War is pretty much stuck to Conquest. But you know, I think that would be good. Just some other game mode that has a little bit, even if it's a modified form of community warfare. Honestly, I think if we got community warfare in private lobbies, that could be really fun.
Oh, definitely. I think that would be a very... I mean, honestly, if they just gave us like a few things to play with some of these modes, you could even... I mean, hell, who needs King of the Hill if you could just disable whatever conquest points you want? Then it's King of the Hill wherever you want it on the map. You know, simple options like that would be greatly appreciated. I've messaged Paul and talked to him, and it seems like he's interested in pushing Solaris. He's really on top of it, and he, you know, knows that it needs a robust feature set. So, you know, if it pans out like he's talking about, I think we'll see something really good. All right, looks like they launched in. So let's drop in right now. Let's get paint the hell off of the screen. We're like 4 for 4 now, if anybody's counting.
That includes the redrop.
Yes. I'm giving myself extra credit, so looks like we're a tiny bit late. Wolverine has already taken damage for 228th. Let's see. Drop decks. 2 Ravens, 2 Wolverines, a Stormcrow, 2 Stormcrows, and a Timberwolf for 228th. On Imperial, we've got 2 Raven, 2 X's, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Stormcrows, 2 Ravens, and 6 Stormcrows. That does not shock me. So, you've got a stratified drop deck from 228th versus a pretty uniform one from Imperial. The lights are on the right side, and Imperial is now pushing up the left. We're going to go try to get into the Imperial players as they push around to the right. They're playing NASCAR, and they're playing it hard. This is going to be a brutal push if they get there. Lots of streaks. Lots of streaks on both sides, I see. I think 228th has got more direct fire because they've got those Wolverines. And 228th is about to lose 1 or 2 in the back. They are in a bad spot. They're caught out in the open right now. They did not rotate quick enough. So we're going to see how this plays out. Spectating JP now. More streaks. All the streaks. Timberwolf Alpha defunct, caught out in the open. We're going to see if he can make it. Half of him's down. And he is gone. Wow, those streaks just do insane amounts of damage when you're focusing. And now we're pretty much in a furball. Imperial is really staying coordinated, focusing target from what I can see. 228 is pretty spread out. Yeah, they're sort of all over the place at this point. Greem on his own over by the Charlie 3 hill. And the other 4 members of 228th running across the Caldera to try to get away. Peter 2000 almost dead in his Stormcrow. Oh, Valkyrie goes down in his Stormcrow, and this Raven is only going to take 1 more set of streaks to pop. Probably he's got... Oh, that is just hard to watch. Queen's Blade, the only mech with any health on 228's side. The 3 large laser Raven, he's at 88% health, and now he is not, because there is a streak mech chasing him. Peter 2000 gets eminent before he goes down, but he does finally go down. Now I believe it's just Greem and this imminently dead Raven 2X. We're going to go ahead and take a look inside Greem right now. Imperial has lost maybe 2, 3, but it's clearly going to go... Now they've lost 3, but that was a coordinated push, and I don't think 228th was quite ready for it. I think that distraction on the right side by those Ravens was just brilliant. And when they pushed to go chase them, the Stormcrows moved in unnoticed and unopposed. So Greem's doing some work. He's kiting. He might get Heim down. He's definitely not going down without a fight. I like it. I like that spirit. We're switching into him. His arm is fresh. His CT is not, but you know, here we go. They're in streak range. Twinkie's first up. And Twinkie is fresh. That is not good. And the XL pops, and that's going to be it. A good match, but again, I think Imperial just had the more cohesive operating manner throughout that game, and it just paid off. Take a look at that damage spread. Valkyrie with 12 damage and El Ducarino with 22 damage, and that is what happens when you get caught like that. It's just brutal to have a mech or two not doing any damage. So looks like that is how the series ends. In general, EmP doing a little bit more damage. Damage spread wasn't bad on the 228 mechs that did damage, but those two that got caught doing basically nothing, that's gotta hurt. So let's go ahead and draw how this NASCAR went down. Mag, any thoughts? Not that you
it's just about starting here for me, so
yeah,
a little behind.
yeah. All right, so man, I don't like these colors.
So how many? Do you know how many street mechs that EmP actually went with?
I believe it was 6 Street Crows. I could be wrong, but I didn't see anything else in those. I didn't see any of them. So, basically, 228s just sort of sat up on the corner between Epsilon and Kappa. Wanted to do a little bit of trading. EmP set up their lights to poke from the tip of Delta 3 Charlie 4 up here with 2 Ravens, and then they sort of massed all their Street Crows down here. They started poking and distracting with these Ravens up here.
It looks like they picked off one of the lights with streaks right when it was in there on Kappa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I'm not positive, but they did get that kill, and I think it was just with those lights that were in there.
There is a very good possibility I did not see it because I jumped in just a couple seconds late there. So, but yeah, after that, EmP just pulled the NASCAR, and 228th was effectively on their heels all the way around, and had people splitting off, and just don't think there was anything they could do after getting caught out here. In this area, this was not a good place to get caught. We're gonna draw a not happy face.
Yeah. So what happened then is unfortunately Valkyrie kind of was like lagging behind, and the Street Crow gets jumped on as EmP turns that corner. The other mechs are spread out, but with those configs, they went large pulse scouts, large laser. Wolverines, they couldn't really fight a Caldera fight, I don't think so. I don't think. They would need to try to drop back far, maybe in the B4 area, just sitting farther back and try to engage and whittle them down. Maybe they weren't I don't think they were expecting this from EmP. I think they really were expecting a ranged fight from EmP, and so they went with the range as well, and it just caught them off guard. And yeah, that's really tough to face if you're taking large lasers, large pulse, and you're getting hit by streaks. That's not a good situation.
And for everybody that, I'm sorry, I didn't put up paint this time, so what you saw was just like a blob of drawings and stuff, but that's the initial setup, and then NASCAR, retreat, split off, and then they just sort of died in the kill zone, and it was unhappy. So, that was a recap of that. So, yeah, I guess it's the end of the series. I don't think they're gonna play out any other matches. I'm gonna just double check with Heim. But yeah, overall, I think that 228th wanted to do a ranged fight, and I don't know, on this map, I just think that's, like Mag said, that's a real big risk you're running. Because wow, those streaks. It was just impressive how fast even that Timberwolf went down. Despite the fact that damage is spread all over, sometimes it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, certainly in mass, it's crushing, but it works better too when you're only fighting like one at a time like that.
Yeah,
whereas
definitely.
They weren't really. It's almost like every drop I think tonight. T2 just didn't really have all their mechs in the position to trade with together. Absolutely. So when they were able to hit that Timberwolf, it's like, okay, yeah, streaks on a Timberwolf, but nobody else is able to shoot back at that point. So it's a lot easier to take that down without taking as much damage.
Yeah, I really do think that you're right. That was 228's problem the whole night. You know, that first drop, Direwolf and Wolverine sort of out on their own, and then everybody spread. Second drop just didn't, you know, got a little bit strung out, and, you know, the position just was not ideal for them. And in this third match, again, sort of one at a time, picked off. Just can't have that happening. Gotta have people to cycle out when you don't have mechs below 50% still doing damage. It hurts. So it looks like they're not going to play out the rest of those drops.
I think because 228 decided to up the tonnage as well to a Timberwolf, that meant that they had taken extra light, and frankly, Raven 2X's against streaks, if they're in, when they've shoved those Raven 2X's all inside the Caldera, like that's really dangerous and risky when you know those mechs have to be sitting back. You don't know yet. You haven't scouted them. You don't know if they have a streak. So now they're close in on the fight. The start fight starts going around the Caldera. Raven 2X's are constantly within streak range, or easily within be approached by EmP to get within streak range. And those mechs just aren't going to be effective. They need to be farther back. And the Wolverines as well. Those Wolverines definitely needed to be farther back. While 228 did take a couple streak crows, you know, they took out the lights, but they only took out one other mech in total on that drop. I think the 228 just needed to play a more patient game and not try to contest that cap right away.
I definitely was wondering about that setup when I saw them trading, but they're, you know, at that corner of the Caldera. It's like, if you're going to do trading, you want to really sort of stay away from the Caldera if you can, because they can just close in on you. There's just too much cover on most of those approaches. So, yeah, I guess lesson learned. Well, I guess any closing comments, assessments, anything like that?
Well, we do have another match being streamed tomorrow. That'll be, I believe, that's what I saw, that DOM, or they're now CSJX again, versus QQ. And that, I don't know what time that's going to be. I think it's at 10 p.m. And that's going to be cast, I think, by Haim and Siri. That's what it says in the weekly community spotlight. Yes, that is what it says. So look forward to that match. It'll be obviously the same settings, of course. And you might see a little bit more of some of the variety that can come into play. CSJX, we'll see if they're still that ER large. They love that. They used to love that range play. We'll see if they still enjoy that, or if they have shifted things up. And yeah, that's all I have to say right now.
Yeah, definitely a good set of matches. It's fun to watch. Thanks to EmP and 228. And yeah, definitely tune in to more MWL and Shoutcasts. We'll be trying to cover as many competitive matches as we can, you know, for all leagues. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Thanks for being here, Mag.
Yeah, no problem. Wish I had access to this.
Yeah, me too.